Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, and welcome to Dr. G WTF. And I'm hoping that tonight could be a little bit different. I'm hoping that tonight we can have a conversation about being the light in the time of darkness. And indeed, this is a very, very difficult time, especially with everything coming together, COVID, the state of the economy, the state of affairs in our nation, the divided nation that we're faced with. And yet, I want to talk about stopping fighting the darkness and being the light. And for those of you who do not know me, I'm Dr. Judy Rosenberg, and I run the Psychological Healing Center here in Sherman Oaks, and doing a lot of Zoom calls internationally, and inviting you, of course, to learn more about the mind map system, which I'm going to outline because it is a pathway that I created for healing not only human disconnect, but global disconnect. And so I want to focus tonight on the fact that we are all capable of being the light, and we can't leave it in the hands of other individuals. We can't even necessarily leave it in the hands of politics, because ultimately we are responsible for healing our own wounds so that we could be the best of our best and shine our light. And I don't mean that in a corny way, but in a way of our uniqueness in what we have to offer ourselves and other human beings. And it's not as simple as an airy fairy, let's be the light, let's be the light. It's not that kind of a concept that I'm talking about. I'm really concentrating now on the little things that we could do to shed light on healing. And what do I mean by healing? From a global perspective, I'm talking about really putting our humanity before we put our race, our religion, our socioeconomic status, our political affiliation, or any what I call isms. And isms are fractured humanity. And if you look at the mind map, you will see that there are 9 panels. And the 9 panels were inspired, for those of you who don't know, by my studying psychology and also studying spirituality, particularly the Zohar and Kabbalah, because Kabbalah gave me the ability to see the world as a system, either as a system gone right or a system gone wrong. And right now I'm going to outline the mind map so that you could understand it from a global perspective. And from a global perspective, the mind map, still divided into 9 panels, is a journey from being one as one human race to splintering off. So if you look at panel number 1, you can see that there's darkness and there's the light. And what we're concentrating on is getting the shadows out of the way so that we could be of utmost healing to ourselves and others. And so the light behind it is what I refer in the book and in the system as our big I, our actualized I. And if you look at the entire map as a system, you can see panel 1, behind the darkness are those, is that luminescent light coming through. And at one point, we were one human race that splintered off. I'm going on to panel 2 so you can understand what I'm saying. We splintered off. You can see the glass splintering. And then we became unique and individual, like a DNA strand. And instead of helping each other climb up the ladder of humanity, success, psycho-spiritual growth, etc., what happened is that instead of concentrating on healing and becoming strong and then uniting, we became rather selfish and individualized to the point where we were no longer interested in other human beings. And let's see what happens when we don't stand together. And I think we have a caller in. So I will continue with the mind map. I want to hear from you. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. And what is your name, please? Hello? Was that a call in?
No, we don't have a call in.
Okay. Okay. So I'll just continue along. So, what happens when we are selfish, when we don't care about our fellow man, when we splinter off this way, is we fall into panels 4, 5, 6, which I often refer to as the what the Freud. And the what the Freud are these repeat patterns that we keep playing out. We keep playing them out in our history. We keep playing them out in our relationships. We keep playing them out, projecting pain onto other people. And what we don't do is hold ourselves responsible and accountable and start our own healing process so that we could be the light to other people. So when we are shadowed over, when our blueprint has gone awry, what happens is panels 4, 5, 6. What the Freud? And that breaks down into chaos. And this chaos could either be individual, it could be national, it could be worldwide chaos. And you see that when we don't hold together, we're thrown off. We no longer have a stable system. We no longer have a DNA, so to speak, or a blueprint that holds us together. We go flailing off into the ozone, a pretty toxic ozone at that. And then when that doesn't work out, then we roll up into what I call isms. And panel 5 is a representation of isms. And you can see all the little balls, the green balls, the yellow balls, the pink balls, the blue balls, the orange balls, the purple balls. And these isms are all the ways that we have fractured off racially, politically, socioeconomically, religiously, in every possible way. We find ways to separate ourselves, and then at the end of the journey, that doesn't go well either, and we end up clashing, and we end up not only destroying others, but destroying ourselves in the process. So, at this very difficult time on the planet, I want to talk about pathways to healing. And for those of you who do not know, I have an Instagram account that you can follow. And these Instagram quotes or quotes that I come up with, I usually do my own artwork. And one of the ones that I posted up there is that violence is never the pathway to healing. It's just never the pathway to healing. Because once you go into that other zone where your amygdala, your fight flight system is going off, once you enter the violent zone, solutions are not forthcoming. Because how can somebody think when they're threatened? How can somebody think when they're in fear response? How can somebody concentrate on themselves being the light and making a point when they're surrounded by a lot of fear and chaos? I think that is the caller. So, hi, you are on the show. And what is your name, please?
Blake, I'm from Toronto.
Oh, hi. How are you? Nice to hear from you.
Hi. Good. Yeah, it's been a while since I called in.
Yeah.
I was working with Christina, so I'm actually on panel 3.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Of the mind map, and I think the first it's about knowledge. So I found like the first 2 panels sort of give me sort of a better idea of why I am like I am.
Yes.
So I just find I just try to find out as much as I can, because understanding how the sort of the emotions and all that stuff works is was kind of complicated, but I just basically I've had 20 years of the mental health system.
Yes.
And when I started, I had a lot of problems, and I was moderately disabled, and I had below average intelligence. So if so now I'm dealing with you because I was dealing with a psychiatrist, and he said I was too smart for them. So there is hope, right? Because that's the whole thing I'm trying to
Absolutely.
say, though. You can come from, you know,
Yeah, can you already see?
and
See, this is where it all begins. It begins with self-healing because there's no way that we could heal as a human race until we heal individually. Because imagine, Blake, now that you know what your childhood wounds are and your reactions, you can now understand your encodings, your negative core beliefs, and how can you be the light to other people when you are stifled by belief systems that pull you down, belief systems that make you sick, belief systems that set you up for people who are going to use or abuse or power over you and continue the vicious cycle. There's no way we can be a beacon of light until we start doing our own work. So can you already see that you've identified some really important elements that are essentially what I call them are lies that we buy into about ourselves?
yeah, I can see a little bit. I've been trying to search for a long time, but yeah, it made perfect sense to me when I looked at what the wounds were, and then how I behaved from them, and then that's when I started realizing, yeah, because I'm doing this because this is my childhood, like poor choices of friends and stuff like that. I think that's from my childhood of not hanging around with enough people and stuff like that.
So let me ask you
I
this.
can see.
I know you're early into this process, and we're talking about how to be the light to other people. And I'm not talking about being a rocket scientist or curing COVID. I'm just talking about our individual light so that we can be, even early on in the process, a beacon to other people. So, would you say that this process of getting to know yourself and identifying these core wounds and core beliefs have made you more empathic toward yourself?
Yeah, I'm more aware of some of the things that are going on more because
Okay.
just it just makes sense. It just makes more sense because because whatever happens, like it's like I read there, like if the parent was afraid to climb a tree, well, if he said to the to the kid, I don't know about that tree, it's awful dangerous. Well, that would set him off that he probably wouldn't want to climb a tree, right?
That's
That
right.
sort of thing. That's kind of, so I'm kind of getting that way better understanding of it. Yes.
Okay, so even though I know you've suffered from a lot of mental unhealth and systems that were not exactly helpful to you, what light do you feel that you can already start sharing with others? And again, it doesn't have to be rocket science or curing COVID or donating $1 billion toward causes. I'm just talking about your own individual strength, your heart, your ability to connect with other people. What can you do for others right now in any small capacity that might make a difference to other people's life?
Well, I've got a lot of friends like from mental health groups. So what
Okay.
I'm learning, I'm actually communicating with someone that's reading your book as well.
Oh, really?
So
And thank you
um,
so much for paying that forward. And for all of you who don't know, the PDF version of Be the Cause Healing Human Disconnect is free. And then, if, of course, if you want to buy it on Amazon, I think it's $15.95, and they'll ship it to you. And please feel free to pass around the PDF version, post it on your Facebook, wherever they can grab it. So yeah, so what are you able to pay forward to other people?
well, it's like helping them with emotional regulation.
Okay.
Because like I was attending Al-Anon meetings, so a lot of the stuff that I had learned from your show and your videos, when a lot of them ended up repeating a lot of that because it made a lot of sense.
Hmm.
So, but by sharing though, I learned a lot more as well because, um, and plus people can see that I recovered a lot.
And you must know a lot about the amygdala, right? Because yours was very, very dysregulated. So imagine in a time of crisis, a time where there's a lot of national unrest, international unrest, a lot of fear in the air. Imagine if everyone works on their dialing it down, and if everyone starts taking responsibility for being mentally healthier and being physically healthier and being uh, more hardy for themselves so that they can be for other people. So yes, we could go battling and warring and rioting and so on, but why not take that same energy and extend it in a humane fashion and extend ourselves to other people who are in need of education, in need of a smile, in need of just a little bit of support, in need of some food, in need of some clothing. So why can't we all be the light? And we don't have to wait for our politicians to do it for us, because we are actually the heart and soul of the world individually. So nobody's going to do this for us but us. So I'm suggesting that we all find our power and share this power in our humane way, and understand that when going back to childhood wounds and self dysregulation, if we see that our world is dysregulated, what we're seeing really is a macro version of the micro problem. Does that make sense to you, Blake?
Yes.
Right? Imagine everybody's wounded in their childhoods and they're all having reactions and they're dysregulated and they feel unworthy and they feel unlovable and they feel that they're not good enough. What do people do with this pain? Well, they either swallow it and get sick and sometimes suicide, or they project all their pain and they blame, finger point, and vomit it all over other people. And so neither one of those things are going to work in the long run. So how do you like working with Christiana Davidson, by the way?
Oh, it's great. Yeah. She's very easy to talk to and
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's our counselor in Great Britain, in London. And she's been wonderful. And we all offer free consultations so you can learn about this. So thank you. You're paying it forward by lending support to other individuals who are going through mental health issues. And you know, one thing that I learned from the Kabbalah, I give them a lot of credit, and I'm starting to read more again and refresh my mind about this a system of tapping into the light. And I'm not preaching here. I'm just saying that the mind map really did come from my studying this. And I'm very grateful, because for whatever reason, and honestly, I didn't know what I was doing when I was doodling these 9 panels. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to invent a mind map that heals human disconnect and heals childhood wounds. It was just sort of like, oh, let's see what I could do as a system to create some kind of a flow here of bringing humanity together. And it was a flow of creation, destruction, and reintegration. So thank you for doing your part in this, Blake. And healing is the best thing that we could do, because when we're in a healed state, we're not swallowing the pain, we're not projecting it onto other people. We're cleaning up our own stuff. We can be strong for ourselves and be strong for other people, and we could use all our beautiful energy to extend ourselves in humane and peaceful ways. So thank you for that, and I really appreciate you calling in.
Okay, thank you, Dr. G.
My pleasure. Nice to hear your voice. Okay, take care. Bye. Yeah, so that's what I'm suggesting, is we can't rely on other people. No system is going to help us out of this. We are the system. You get it? It's in our hands, and we are the cause. And that's why I call my book be the cause, healing human disconnect, which then leads to healing global disconnect. So the only way we can do this is actually through a dream that I had many years ago, and I do share it in the book, sort of illustrates it best. At least it was my transformative dream. And the dream that I had when I was about in my mid 30s, something like that, a couple of years ago, right? And so what I dreamt was that I was in the middle of the ocean and I was sitting on this rock, and a dolphin swam up to me. And dolphins to me symbolize wisdom and peace and almost a sense of spirit, deep spirituality, the deepest spirituality. So I felt that God came to visit me on this rock, and in the dream I knew that I only had one question to ask the dolphin. So it's sort of like, what if you were to only have one question to ask the universe or God or whoever you deem is the highest source. So there I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I have a question. I hope this is a good question. So I say to the dolphin, who rules the ocean? I was pretty proud of the question in my dream. Oh, that's going to be a good one. And the dolphin says to me, you're asking the wrong question. We don't think like that. Okay, so I hope you get what I'm saying by that. We don't think like that. So that was my paradigm shift. And it didn't show up until years later in my book, Be the Cause, as a transformational message to others. So it's actually my panel 7, 8, 9. So if you go to panel number 7, you could see that all the orbs are interconnected. We don't think isms. We don't think black, white, orange, purple, yellow. We don't think Democrat, Republican, blah, blah, communism, social. We don't think like that. We don't think splintered. We are thinking in the dolphin philosophy way. We come together as a united humanity. We bring it. And through interconnecting and working together, we become the light. We take our individual light, and if you could see panel 7, in the middle of panel 7 is a beam of light. And that's what we can create as a human race. And as the healing process, once we partner up with people who help us through our psycho-spiritual and physical growth, evolve us, as opposed to people who devolve us. And through that process, we are going to be the cause of creating a world that let's all do this together. And one of the aspects of peaceful concept of power here. And what is really powerful about the mind map is that there's power in unity. There is power in the pair ourselves so that we don't have to work off of an old blueprint and believe things about ourselves, not only individually, but globally. We have global core beliefs like the world is a danger. And parts of that are, we have legitimate reasons to live in fear. It's just that we individually, and I'm challenging everybody to start thinking this way, that we are all in this together, and understanding what we could do to be the cause of bettering ourselves and contributing to the human race. So let's talk about the little things that we could do. I believe a few weeks ago we had a call in, and this person did something very easy. He just yielded to traffic. That was it. Just yielded to traffic. And all of a sudden, he was a role model to other people. And now people were yielding to the traffic. And instead of climbing all over each other and being the cause of an accident, being the cause of more tension, being the cause of more traffic pileup, he was being the cause of being gracious. He was being the cause of yielding. And we can do that. We could see when people are ramping up, we can simply stand back, give them more space. We could smile at them, ask them how they're doing. We could offer them a little bit of more compassion. And so each individual has the capacity to do this. And one of the things that we at the Psychological Healing Center work really hard on is developing better and better systems for healing from narcissistic abuse, which at the core is a consciousness of apathy. And so, in this world that we are co creating, there is no room for apathy. There's just no room for violence. There's no room for apathy. There's no excuse to break anybody's window or upset. Imagine how much PTSD we're going to be having at the end of this journey. How many little children are going to be freaked out because of the violent protests going on, or the fear that's in the air. Imagine how much they're going to have to heal, and how much funding we're going to have to give to people like me, psychologists and social workers and so on, to help people heal from this mass PTSD. So rather than be at the we need to be proactive. Okay, so thank you for calling in. Hi, and you are, what's your name?
Hello, is that me?
Yeah, hi, yeah. Who am I talking to?
Oh, great. This is Maura calling from Oregon.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for calling in.
Good.
So
how are you doing,
how are you?
Judy?
Yeah, I'm good. I've been asked by so
Good.
many people to please do something about this. So I want to do something about this, but it's not me doing something about this. I want to be a kind of a creating a pathway for everybody so that we could all do, because I can't do anything for anybody that doesn't do for themselves. Make sense?
It does make sense, and I think you are creating a pathway.
I appreciate that.
I think your timing is perfect in this world. It's odd.
Yeah, listen, I've been talking about this for a long time. This dates back to 2000, 2001. I've been talking about join the human race, healing global disconnect, and people thought that I had a lame idea and a stupid little mind map. I'm serious. People laughed at it like, oh, there's another one of Judy's harebrained ideas. Oh, that's just great. Okay, so
yeah. You have to have fortitude and believe in yourself in those times. Yeah. And I think it's interesting that before the pandemic, the World Health Organization the year before had identified loneliness as the number one world health problem, right? It was the number one world crisis in health.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So your topic is, bringing light to other people. And I have just become certified as I don't think they have this in California, but as a mental health peer support specialist. Have you heard of this?
No, but I want to know all about it. Please share with me and the audience. What do you do to help other people?
Well, the idea behind this, it's the oddest thing in the world that the major number one qualification to become certified and a professional in this field is that you have to have survived a mental health crisis, like a severe crisis.
A mental health.
And it's like the only job that would require that of you, right? And any other job where you apply and admit that, they're going to shoo you out the door quickly. Okay. It's a requirement. And the idea is that you walk along, you're not giving someone advice. There's no power differential. So the clients have their own therapist that they're working on setting up their plan, what their issues are. The peer support specialist kind of is the sounding board, the support, the day-to-day, taking it to the streets, working what your goals are, and sharing your experience when it's asked for, not pushing it on someone, and being someone that walks beside someone when necessary, behind them when they need encouragement and they're ready to step forward, and in front of them when they need some help, maybe navigating a system, getting through a crisis, whatever. And I think the beauty of this is that with this crisis that we have now and is coming, with all of the first responders, all the people that are out there fighting for us to save us, as well as all of us stuck here being pitted against each other by the government. There are so many people out there like me that could become certified in this. Many states have this certification, and there is a national certification in it. And then you can work, you can bill Medicaid and Medicaid and work with therapists, and then you can.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but to say what the certification is and what education is required for this, please.
Well, it's called being a peer support specialist, and they have it for mental health. They have it for addictions. There's a certification for wellness. There's a different levels of these peer support specialists, and it's in the traditional healthcare worker path in my state of Oregon. But it's also in many, many states, and like I said, nationally, there's certification as well. And the requirement is in the specific area that you specialize, you have to have personal experience. You have to have overcome addiction, or have survived your crisis and now be well and managing, or mental health, same thing. You must have gone through some sort of major crisis, and this way you can reach out not only to the people themselves that are our fellow people in crisis and going through all this chaos, but the families of people that are suffering as well, to help them understand, because you've been through it. So these positions are in hospital settings to I'm trying to help and get into like your kind of setting, where the person that doesn't have a crisis is going to end up in a public health setting but stays in the private care sector. I'm trying to I'm hoping to help reach people out there that they have no idea this exists, and that a regular therapist can work with people, peer support specialists, to help enhance how they're helping people. Beautiful. And the peer support specialists can work on their own too.
And you don't have to have a master's, or do you even have to have a BA?
No.
Or nothing. This is wonderful for people who.
No,
like
I think
to be
I
in
think
the
you have to have a high school diploma.
Pardon me?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great idea, and it's not the highest paying job in the USA, that's for sure, but it's also not the lowest, and so it's enough to get by on and do well enough, and really help people. And you never know, like you out there with your idea that everyone was naysaying and knocking down, you stuck with it and you did something amazing. So you never know how many people are out there that have survived a crisis or narcissistic abuse that can help others deal with it.
Right. And I love the idea that you are really being a beacon to people that are going through something that you went through. And I guess it's not a huge secret that I've gone through my own narcissistic abuse and my own what the Freud cycles of picking people who have been abusive and neglectful and so on and so forth. So I feel that everything that I've gone through, it's a teachable thing for me now. Like, oh, wow, that person taught me about covert narcissism, and that one taught me about overt narcissism. How lucky I am, okay, right? Because it's easy for me to see it. And so I encourage everybody to be the curse by design transformer. I just made that up, okay? So you have a curse.
Okay. Right?
So you've been hurt, whether you've been abused or neglected or whatever, and now you, by design, let's say there's a higher power that kind of threw you this curveball in order to help you get strong and overcome this obstacle, which is something that not everybody believes, but I happen to think that way, okay? That these are the challenges of the universe that were gifted to me, and they sure as hell didn't feel like gifts at the time, I can assure you, okay? And it made me very, very strong, and made me very, very aware. And now I could teach. And I think that when people like yourself take all the pain and suffering that you've gone through, and then find a population of people and get paid to do that job, because they want people who, for example, have been through cancer to help people who are going through cancer, or people who've been through narcissistic abuse to help people who've been through narcissistic abuse, and on and on and on. What a brilliant idea, because again, apathy is the killer, right? Did you say loneliness is the number one killer? Okay, so you don't have to be alone to be lonely, because I could think of plenty of relationships that I was in where I felt very, very lonely, but yet I was in the relationship, okay? And yet, I remember the words to a song that inspired me very much, and the words were something like, "It's hard to be alone when you're not all by yourself." Okay, it's hard to be alone.
It's almost worse.
Pardon me?
It's almost worse because it's in your face all the time that you're alone.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
You're not supposed to be if there's someone else there, so it's almost worse. Like really in your face how lonely you are. You can't distract yourself from it.
No. So that's why it's so important for us to do our own work and set our boundaries, and not do what I call the WTF, the repetitive cycle. And it's only when we're strong and we're healed and we are able to have compassion and empathy and use our curse by designs. If we're healthy that way, then we're not swallowing it and suiciding on it, nor are we projecting it all over our friends, our coworkers, our significant others, our children, right? The multi-generational tragedy where we project all our pain and act it out all over our children. What a horrible thing to not heal ourselves before becoming parents. And so it's no wonder that we're having global breakdown. Just take all of the individual pains around the world, right? And just put them all together and shake them up with some COVID and, I don't know, political unrest and racial unrest and cultural unrest. And there's your fire, right? And now everybody can go at it.
Right.
All scapegoat each other until they off themselves. Yeah.
And when you add in social media where there's no discourse or conversation anymore, it's simply people shouting their opinions at each other and then thumbs up or thumbs downing or up. I don't know what thumbs these can do, but whatever, giving an opinion and then turning it off. It's like nobody's actually talking and listening to each other and considering the other opinion anymore.
No, they're not listening.
So it's a little frightening.
It's so frightening because everybody is isming. They're in their position and no one is really here because they've already made up their mind that they hate this and they hate that. And there's no conversation. And that's why there's that clashing. I call it the clashing of the isms. That would be panel number 6, right? Where they come together.
Ah.
They're not coming together. They're just coming together to destroy each other. And so what I also want to emphasize is how impossible it is to really hear each other and take in somebody's pain in their communication when that pain is delivered in a scary way. If somebody's throwing something at you, or somebody's yelling in your face, or somebody's trying to break your window down, or demean and devalue and destroy you, well, it's hard to listen, right? You can kind of get it. Yes, I understand these people are really in pain and suffering, but now they're scary. So what do you want to do? You want to run away from the people. The very people that you might want to even help, right? The very same people. Yep. That if you had a chance to really sit down with them, and if we didn't have all of these cracked lens of perceptions in front of our eyes that turn people into isms, right? I was just talking to a gentleman about just a handful of days ago, and he was telling me that he's African-American, Black, and I said, look, why don't you do me a favor? I'm supposed to be white. I'm going to take a piece of paper and hold up a white sheet of paper. Okay, so here's a white sheet of paper. Am I white? I don't think I'm white. I really don't. I think I'm kind of pinkish, tannish, I don't know, So I told him to do the same. I don't think he's black. And so I really like Morgan Freeman's philosophy, where let's stop calling each other black and white and this and that. How about Judy or Mary or Susan or Bill or hello, I'm Morgan. Hello, I'm Judy. Okay. Welcome to the human race. It's our linguistics also that I think create the great divide. It's a great divide. I happen to be an animal lover. I have a chocolate brown lab and I happen to have a beautiful German Shepherd who's tan and black and I don't know, all kinds of colors. And, I don't go around saying, and my brown dog and my black dog. And, we've got to stop it. We really have to stop it.
Well, and that's a good example, Dr. Judy. If we can we love our pets or our companions so much, and we don't care what mix they are in general, right? Where they came from, what their lineage is, or anything. And it's like we can't look at each other and love each other the same way and not care. Like, who cares?
Who cares, right? And one day, hopefully in my lifetime, we're just going to stop speaking that way, and we're not really going to take note, because we're going to be more in tune with whether somebody is kind or not, whether somebody's empathic or not, whether somebody has emotional intelligence and is able to be a +1 to our lives. And by that, I mean a 1 + 1 is more than 2. So that if you and I have some kind of a communication or interaction, then as a result of that interaction, I'm better and you're better. And that's how we need to start behaving. That's what the dolphin dream was all about. The dolphins aren't like, who rules the ocean? Well, the blue dolphin over there rules the ocean over the gray dolphins over there. They work together. But we have to work on ourselves, and we have to get all this pain and suffing and resentment and betrayal and feelings of worthlessness, which we psychologically inherited from our family of origin, and then all the other cultural overlays that have to be worked through in order for us to come to that point where we can really present our humanity to the other. And that's what we should be more interested in, is rather than you're black, you're white, you're Chinese, you're, I don't know, whatever, Australian, Canadian, French, doesn't matter, right? What's more of value is, let's go back to our ethics. Let's go back to ethics as a pathway to healing. So if somebody's ethical, if they can be trusted, if the person is interested in bettering your life, isn't that the kind of person you want to be around?
Yeah, someone that's going to grow and develop and be engaged and have empathy and can be able to connect. I think that some people are so damaged they are unable to connect. I mean, I have hope for everyone, but I'm not quite sure anymore that the damage isn't so great, that there's some subset of our population that it's just undoable. And then if that's undoable, is it an exponential problem that's just going to grow generationally and become worse and worse? I mean, you're crucial to helping us, Dr. Judy, really.
I really appreciate that.
I think it's so valuable.
I don't know what impact I have on, I know I have impact on a small scale because I can talk to people and they could tell me so. My wish and dream is that this mind map become a global thing, a global way of seeing, so that we're not so steeped in our pain and we're not so shadowed over. And again, I really want to go back to my big lesson in Kabbalah: stop fighting the darkness and be the light, because we could put a lot of energy into anti this and anti that, or we could put the energy into feeding people or listening to people or compassionately working with people like you are, who've been through crises. Okay, so this is, I have a girlfriend who I really want to get on the show. She's been on a show before. Her name is Dr. Barbara Pavlo, and she's a LAPD psychologist, and she's just going crazy because it's so harsh. And of course, she's been defunded, and they're defunding the police, and these officers risk their life. They risk their life every single day, and they're being, now the latest is they're putting soup cans in bags and throwing it at them, or putting lasers in officers' eyes. This is some of the stuff that I hear from her that isn't on the news. Maybe some of it is, but it's really, really, really brutal. And so one of the things that we've been talking about is how to make the police force better and stronger. And I said to her, this is a system. It's not just the police, it's the citizens also that have to co-create a better communication with the officer. So if they say, put your hands on the dashboard or the steering wheel, well, why freak them out? Just put your hands on the dashboard and steering wheel, and dial down their amygdala, because if they're calm, then they're not going to do what they're trying not to do, which is ramp it up. No one wants to ramp it up. And so we really have to work as a society. We're interconnected. So they have to help us, we have to help them. We have to create safety. We've got to create systems of as you said, we've got to create systems of communication.
Well, and language these days has become, if you really listen to the way language is being used, it's quite confusing. It's almost like the doublespeak of 1984. And you were and if you grow up in a culture, you're acculturated to have fear, though, of the police. How can you have that encounter and not be in that position you described, where the deliverer of the message itself, which is scary, which is put your hands on the steering wheel. But if you've been raised to fear the uniform and the person that's delivering that message, already your amygdala is
that's right,
of a light.
So
if both sides are starting out that way, how do you de-escalate that situation before? And that's what you're doing, is trying to help.
And
I guess it starts before that.
Obviously, they're going to be people throughout the ages that are going to misuse power, whether it's misusing their power in the police force, or their medical power, or their power as a politician, or power as a corporate head. We're all prone to this, okay? We're all prone to this. Yet we've got to identify the problem. And some of it is just, if you look at Pavlov's classical conditioning. Remember, every time he rang the bell, the dog would salivate, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of this is conditioning, that people who have been conditioned with fear because of police, let's say they happen to be African American, and a white police officer comes up to them, they've already been conditioned to fear. Okay. Mm-hmm. So their heart is going to race, and maybe they're not going to be clear thinking, and maybe they're going to act out of coming from a fear consciousness, right? And then maybe the police officer is going to pick up on that, and it's going to up the ante. So these are the discussions that we have to have, that these are natural human condition responses. Okay, we can't help it. We
are animals.
We're animals, right?
We are animals. We forget. It's like we've tried to distance ourselves so far from accepting that we are animals, and a lot of it is of what happens, we are totally out of control of. There's a lot of stuff going on that we don't even know.
Exactly.
And it's like we don't have any healthy respect we've lost our healthy respect for the fact of that our biological beings, in a way.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I'm sure you have other callers. I don't want to take
really
up too much of your
appreciate
time.
calling in. Thank you. And, you know, I can't do it alone. So I'm just inviting everybody to be the cause and be part of this. So thank you for what you're doing. And let me know what you're doing. You can email me because I want to know more about your job and how people can avail themselves of this kind of help. So thanks for sharing that. Okay.
Sure, happy to do it. Yeah, I would love to be able to take your mind map program out to people, you know, and take it to and help them work it.
That. Okay, so write me about that.
Okay.
And thanks so much for calling in. And I'm
glad you're doing this. Thanks for doing your show.
Thank you very much. Yes. One of the passions that I have is to get the mind map into the prison system so that people who are incarcerated can learn. They can learn the mind map, and people can learn the mind map. They can learn it by reading the book. They can learn it through my video series, which I created, called Be the Cause Mind Map Journey to Healing. And that's available. That's a video series, and you can purchase that through the website. And then I also have the narcissistic abuse. That's the basic mind map program right there. Okay, so if you want to learn the mind map and apply it to your life, and let's say that you don't want to do therapy, there it is. You get the PDF of the book. You get the PDF of the journal that you can download. You get the code in to the entire series, which covers all the 9 panels, plus a case study, plus the mind map from a child's point of view, plus the peaceful healing dialogue, which is a dialogue of peace so that you don't rock the boat and blow up the connection. So that's the easiest way to learn it in a very organized fashion. And then we have the other mind map video series called the Mind Map Journey to Recovering from Narcissistic Abuse, hosted by my life coach, very talented life coach, Yitz Epstein. And this is a particular program that delves into the most harsh, difficult part of the work, which is curing people from, or helping people recover from narcissistic abuse, and also identifying those aspects of ourselves that are behaving narcissistically and are hurting other individuals. So by healing from the apathy that our parents shadowed over us, we don't have to be apathetic ourselves and hurt other individuals. So I'm going to go to my Shoot That Tune, and actually, let me see. It was a tune that got printed out to me today. Let me see what that is. Get Up and Stand Up. Well, it's not exactly the song that I wanted, but I'm going to interpret it. I'm going to interpret it my way. So this is by Bob Marley. Get up, stand up. It's a little bit more the direction of get up, stand up, and fight for your rights. But I'm going to say fight for peace, or rather be the light. Okay. Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up for your rights. And that goes on for a while. And get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. And I'm going to add for peace. Okay, so let's not fight. Let's just be the light. Preacher man, don't tell me heaven is under the earth. I know you don't know what life is really worth. It's not all that glitters is gold. All the story has never been told, so now you will see the light. Stand up for your rights. So I'm saying that we are the light. We don't have to wait for the light. We have to uncover or heal those shadows, get them out of the way so that we can really be the best of our best. And then it's pretty much stand up for your rights. Most people think great God will come from the skies, take away everything and make everybody feel high. Well, let's stop waiting, okay? We have been praying for the Messiah and praying and praying and praying for help, for aliens to come down and help us. It was a great movie called As the Earth Stood Still. And it was a beautiful warning in a fiction format, of course, that if we as human beings don't stop the violence, then the aliens are going to possess the earth and kick us off the planet and tell us to go fly a kite or something. It was a really great movie. It was an oldie, The Day the Earth Stood Still. So if you know what life is worth, you will look for yours on earth. And now you see the light. And I'm saying, don't wait for the light. Be the light. Be the light. Because it's time that we do the work. We can't just wait for someone to come along and rescue us. If each one of us individually heals, if each one of us starts having compassion and put energy into helping other people climb up the evolutionary scale of their psycho-spiritual and physical development, if that's where we concentrate our energy and not on unpeaceful measures, really, really extend ourselves in small ways. It doesn't have to be big ways. Anything that comes up in the day could be an opportunity. Someone who looks tired, just ask them, hey, how's your day going? Or you see somebody in line and they just feel like they're not doing well that day. Well, so big deal. Let them go in front of you. Okay, these are the little things. So I invite all of you to be the light. I invite all of you to do your own healing so that you can bring it to the human race. And let's say, as you bring it to the human race, we will all benefit and we all will become more humane as a result of our individual work and as a result of coming together as a united humanity. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.